Hey, how's it going? This is Das, and today we're going to be doing a replay with commentary of Monstermachy. We have Kenz in blue, and Maggie is the red player, squaring off. Looks like, well, we'll get to the teams in a sec. Okay, here we go. So Maggie has Ryujin, Wyrm, Cyclops, Cipactli. Kenz has Pheonix, Yeti, Lavellan, and Lamia. I know for a fact that Kenz really likes using Lavellan. She usually pairs it with the Ryujin. And the reason being, I guess we'll take this moment to do a brief overview of all 8 of the units. So the Lavellan, the aquatic unit that Kenzi's drafted, when it steps out of a body of water, it will poison all units on orthogonally adjacent squares surrounding that body of water. And a quick rehash of what poison does is if a unit is poisoned, if it ever is not chosen to move the following turn, it will be captured. So basically, if something's poisoned, it has to move every turn. And if it doesn't, it'll automatically be captured. The reason why that pairs usually pretty well with the Ryujin is that whenever the Ryujin, an aerial unit, lands, it will turn the entire tile, a tile consisting of 8 squares, 2x4, into fully water terrain. And as we go, we'll kind of review what the natures, aerial, terrestrial, aquatic, and how that interacts with the terrain, land, mountain, and water. They've both gone with terrestrial cores. Maggie has the Wyrm and Cyclops. The Wyrm is good for really taking advantage of fully water or fully land squares. And when I say fully, that means only green. There are squares called swamps that are both green and blue, and they kind of act as a wild depending on what nature your creature is. So they can use it as a or. But the Wyrm really specializes in just land terrain, and it gets +2 to movement points. Movement points being how many points a unit gets when chosen per turn to move. Cyclops functions as a regular terrestrial, but it also has access to a ranged attack. And ranged attacks will be coming up. I think that both players were trying to use units that they don't normally use, so they may have made some mistakes, some illegal moves, and a lot of that kind of went around ranged attacks. Ranged attacks are attacks that threaten units, but whereas the attacking unit doesn't have to move in order to execute that threat. In this case, it's able to launch an attack for linear orthogonal squares, and it'll hit the first unit hit. Cipactli, great defensive aquatic unit. Whenever it attacks from water to from a water square and captures a unit, that unit cannot be hatched. And hatching is a core mechanic of this game. You bring your pieces back by converting your nest, the 4 of which you start with, into monster units to kind of try and contain a presence on the board. Lamia, back over to Kenzi's side, is a terrestrial unit that once it captures a nest, it keeps getting extra movement, extra distance travel, but it can only capture nests. It's really a great kind of carry unit. If you can get it behind a backline unpressured, it will just kind of sweep through and can single-handedly win you the game, but it needs that support. Yeti, another unit, a terrestrial that has a ranged attack, but this one, it fires it diagonally 2 squares. Again, ranged attacks can't go through units, it'll hit the first unit, so that'll come up. And the Pheonix is kind of soft countered by Cipactli because when it is hatched, it doesn't consume a nest, and that it can use that trait once per game. Okay, so that's the quick overview of the units. Let's get back into the game. We missed the board domino setup. We missed the draft, but now we're going to start off with the drop, where monsters are placed on the board. Kenz choosing to put the Lavellan in the water. So this body of water, these two are not connected because they're bordering, but they're not a continuous body of water. But the Lavellan, once it steps out of the water, again, will poison everything around this body of water. Maggie putting the Ryujin over here. You usually want to put an aerial unit on a column that has the least amount of water because it gives you more spaces to land. The Ryujin is definitely one of the more difficult units to use. You're going to see why as the game goes on. But basically because, and to go back to this tile is, when it lands, the whole tile is considered just water, but aerial units can't land in water unless capturing. So once you land here, you can't land on this space anymore because now it's considered water. So Ryujin is kind of, in general terms, usually working with half the available movement options that another aerial would have. Now that's terrible, but on the other hand, you're creating terrain that a lot of units can't really attack you from. So great synergy with other aquatic units, not good into aquatic units, but can really shut down other teams. So we're going to see how that's piloted. Just going over here and why this is a good move. Kenzie's choosing to drop one of her monsters, and you're always putting your monsters as you place them on the back 2 rows, nests on your half. So the Yeti, as long as it's on a mountain, it can use that range attack. If it starts its turn and ends its turn on a mountain. So she's already kind of using that. And this board has a good amount of mountains in the middle. So she's going to be able to kind of leverage this Yeti in kind of a artillery while controlling the center. Just like chess, kind of controlling the center is generally a positive tactic. So pretty good placement here. She's using her other terrestrial to kind of maybe try and sneak through the back using this big stretch of plains. But we'll see how the rest of the units are placed. And then Cipactli's in the water, giving access to kind of make some advancement. This is a good placement by Maggie. It's kind of controlling here with a ranged attack, or she can just make sure that she can jump down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. She can capture all of these squares. Maggie deciding to kind of put both of her terrestrial on this side, really going to try and force terrestrials and break through. Pretty good move. This is this is the only place where both sides of the board are connected. Actually, over here, both sides of the board are connected by land. Really a mountain and water dominated central fort. So she's going to try and sneak by here. I'll see how it works. And then the Pheonix placed over here in the mountains with only one water space in the way. So that's pretty good. Maggie choosing to put a nest near her Cipactli. Good idea. Yeah, Kenz is putting a nest here. We're going to go back and forth. And again, just while the nests are being placed, and I'll kind of comment on the pros and cons of their nest placement once they're done. To review natures and movements, terrestrial get 1 movement point to spend per land, so it can go to a maximum of here, or it can spend 3 for a mountain or 3 for a fully water. So it could go like here, right? Because that would be 4 total. Flying units move straight. They only spend 1 movement point for any terrain, but on the, oops, sorry, that's pretty big, a little fuzzy. Okay, so I'm going to pause it right here. They can, they go straight, they fly over units, they fly over terrain, so they're only ever playing 1, but they can never land in water or swamp squares unless they're capturing. And then aquatic are kind of the opposite of terrestrial. They pay 1 per water and swamp, and 3 for land and 3 for a mountain. Now, the exception of that is when they're capturing. If a unit is bordering water, they can attack from water going to a non-water square, and that only costs 1. So again, water units are very not dangerous in water, of course, but also to all surrounding squares, and that's something that you kind of have to respect. All right, so let's kick it off. I think Kenzie will be going first. All right, so all right, second guess that. Let's see where she ends up. Okay, so unfortunately, this is a blunder. Kenzie moving here, she's leaving this hanging, the term used in chess when a piece can be taken and without any real repercussions. So she moved, let's see, 1, 2, 3, but this unit is 1, 2, 3, 4, and can capture this, and there's nothing really defending it. Actually, I mean, I guess this could freeze it. Maybe she's baiting. So I guess it's not technically hanging, and this won't be able to capture this because this would be 1, 2, 3. But then to get onto a mountain, it would be another 3, and that'd be 6 total, which is more than 4 that you'd have to spend on a turn. Okay, so it looks like Maggie counters by developing her Cipactli. She's going over here. I don't know if she's going to try and make her way to this, try and create some water terrain with the Ryujin at some point to maybe create a waterway over to here. Yeah, let's see how it goes. All right, moving the Yeti over there. I guess she's seeing that there's going to be a push here, and she's trying to match it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, using all of her 4 movement points on all this terrestrial or this land terrain. She is kind of getting away from the mountains though, so this is no longer defended, which is unfortunate because the Yeti really wants to be here, but maybe it'll pay off. Okay, and then so Kenzie's going to move her Pheonix this way, obviously, and pretty classically, she's trying to line up her aerial unit on an approachable square. So she can't reach it right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. So she'll probably have to land here or here and then capture it the turn after. But let's see what Maggie does. Okay, so this is where we kind of get into a little bit of so unfortunate interpretation of the rules. So the Ryujin, and maybe I'll put it back up on the board, the description on the screen. She's moving from here to here, which almost like literally 99% of all aerials can do, except for the fact that the Ryujin, when it landed here, has made this entire rectangle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 into fully water. It's considered that. And as the user of the Ryujin and the opponent of the Ryujin, you're responsible for kind of just knowing that's what it does, and you can refer to the cards as such. But because of that, its an aerial cannot land in fully aquatic terrain or fully water terrain. So unfortunately, this was an illegal move. Would be a completely normal move with any other aerial, and a good move because now she's lining up this attack 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, only paying 1 movement point per square. Let's see what. Okay, so Kenz decides to develop there. Now she's actually threatening 2. 1, 2. If she takes this, nothing will be able to capture her back. This would have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's less than 4, so it won't be able to get there in 1 turn. Here, if she captures here, both this and this can both capture in 1 turn. So this is double protected. This is completely available. Now that Maggie's already here, maybe she'll decide to attack here. If she does so, she will be able to be captured. No, she will not. Let's see, 1. Yeah, no, she will. Because all of this will be water. And so this aquatic will be able to go 1, 2, and 3. Let's see what happens. Okay, so she captures the first nest of the game. This is a little bit of a misplay, I think, because this nest wasn't going anywhere. It was kind of guaranteed, and you're also threatening to. And so by capturing it, she's leaving this open. This is just going to go 1, 2, and it can land on water because it's capturing. I think this is a bit of a misplay. This is protecting, but this is going to go 2 for 1 on versus gaining a nest that was almost guaranteed. Okay. So now this is where we get a little bit another kind of error here, and this is one of the reasons I'm doing commentary on this game. I was able to record it, but I wasn't able to there's no officiator on this game, and some of the other games I don't think run into the same problems necessarily. But again, people were experimenting with new teams, new monsters, so it's just part of the process. The reason why Maggie just took that right off the board, and it would actually go back to Kenzie, even though she just moved there, is because, and it looks like she didn't move, is because she used her turn to act and not move and use a ranged attack. 1, 2, 3, 4. And normally that would be an okay, but the problem is this unit is in the way. Ranged attacks can't go through units, allied or enemy. So fortunately a legal move, but we're going to continue. All right, so this is also a blunder. So an important aspect of this game is you can forgo your nest. You can sacrifice a nest in order to hatch a monster that's been captured and put onto the side of the board. You want to do that when you kind of have some tempo to burn. Bringing this back when you hatch costs your entire turn. And just to note, the Pheonix's trait, she gets to come back but not consume the nest, which is why the nest is still on the board and underneath her, that blue ring, if you can tell. But by bringing this back, she's leaving this vulnerable when she could have just moved it and not lost a piece. So I think Maggie will probably capture back. Yep, she's going to capture that, kind of a free. This will trade, but again, that Ryujin going 2 for 1. All right, so Maggie's going to move backwards. I would have liked to have seen her take this green spot. It would have not been in reach from this terrestrial because there's really no way to get there unless in 4 moves or less. So moving from, let's see, where was she? She was, oops, too far back, sorry. Let's let this play out. See, okay, so the Cipactli is here. And so she could have gone 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you've already paid the cost to get on this land. You don't have to pay it to get off the land. So from here, she could threaten 1, 2, 3, 4. All of these, not this. All of these, this, actually not these two. This, here. Like, she can threaten so many squares by getting on this one. Also defend this background because there's this body of water. But she decides to kind of go a roundabout way. I don't know if she was just kind of worried that the Yeti might do something tricksy. Okay, that was I guess that. Now I'm also a little curious about this move. Not really sure what Kenzie was thinking, and maybe that's what spooked Maggie. I think again, I would have liked to have seen her try and go back to the mountains. A shame Maggie didn't get over here. Shame she didn't kind of maybe work her way this way, but it's always interesting to see what the long-term goals are. Okay, so she took her Pheonix and she went 1, 2, she flew over this, 3, 4. I think this is actually a pretty good move. Again, this is no longer hanging as soon as the Pheonix came back because it could capture and can trade 1 for 1. This threatens 1, 2, and protects this. This is a pretty strong place. It can't be captured, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think that's a really good move. It's more about, now that you have it though, leveraging some action. Okay, so there we go. Maggie does make it to this body of water. Still out of range of the Yeti because she's in her native water. She's threatening this piece. Yeah, she has to back off and she can't stop right next to the water because she could still be able to attack from the water square. See what Maggie does. Okay, so I think she has her eye out on this. And if she did want to do that, if she wanted to be a little bit more move efficient, what she could do is she could get on this in one turn. She was here, she would just pay 1 to go here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And now she's threatening this. She's off water, makes her a little bit vulnerable, but still can't be captured by this, or this, and it would threaten it next turn. So if that's what she was doing, maybe could have played a little bit better. Kenzie finally getting back on mountains. Now the problem is she cannot, again, normally this unit can do 2 diagonal attacks. If she starts and ends her turn on a mountain, next turn she'll start her turn on a mountain. But the problem is that this isn't the way. Range attacks can't go through units. Let's see if that's relevant. Okay, so Maggie choosing to use her turn to bring back the Ryujin. I think the Ryujin pretty strong as long as you have units you can support. Not as strong towards the end of the game, and you're going to see why I think maybe later. All right. Okay, so this is, I think, an illegal move. She's using her ranged attack to take the Cipactli off the board, but that's an illegal move for 2 reasons. 1, again, this is in the way, this unit. And 2, and I'll try and put it on the board right now, the Yeti is not capturing with a ranged attack. It freezes. A frozen unit becomes disabled. It becomes unhatchable, and it remains stuck here until any other unit travels over it and breaks the ice is kind of way. What is being worse, being captured or frozen, really depends on the board state. But yeah, so if she's using a ranged attack and this unit was in the way, this would be frozen. It would remain on the board. You usually flip over the piece to indicate that it has a SAS condition rather than removing it from the board to show that it's been captured. So unfortunate error. Again, the Yeti, as you will see, is a 3-star, is a little bit difficult. A lot of mechanics in play. But, you know, it's nice that people are trying new things. So Maggie's going to develop over here. This, again, is all water. And Kenzie's going to decide this turn to go for the Wyrm, not the nest. When to go for nest and when to go for monsters is really dependent on the point in the game, the strategy, placement. So was that the right move? Honestly, it's up to debate. I think both are good, and it's hard to tell which one is better. One gives you, gets you closer to winning, but the other one gives you tempo. And sometimes the tempo is what you need to win, and not just getting a smaller. Let's take a step back. So, okay, so she captures back with the Cyclops. She actually could have used the ranged attack. Okay, yeah, okay, no, yeah, she could have used the ranged attack and stayed here. And prevented this unit from getting closer, but it also could have just gone to this mountain. So really, realistically, protecting it, unlikely. You can just kind of punish for it. She's developing her Ryujin. And the question is, I don't really think it's helping that much in protecting this because it's already protected, unless you want to free up the Cyclops to do something else. But I think the real threat, that's a byproduct, just an extra positive. What it's doing right now, it is threatening this Yeti. And we're going to see if Mackenzie notices that or not. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Still not in range to capture this, so it's not a double threat, but it is threatening. And it couldn't land here either because even though it can reach it, this would be able to capture it. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's see. Okay, so Kenzie again focusing. Instead of getting one of her pieces to safety, is choosing to hatch. I've been told this game was kind of played when they were running late to a movie. So, I think everybody's trying to make the best plays they can with the time they have. But usually, if you're developing, again, you're losing a lot of tempo, and you don't want to be doing it when you're down. All right, what happens here? Okay, so this is choosing to attack, and the way it would do that is go here first and then here. Sometimes some players are kind of playing Monopoly where they pre-count, but that's kind of the route it takes. So, okay, Maggie's choosing to use her ranged attack is the reason that she didn't move here with the Cyclops. It would have been fine if she had done that. She could have used either or. But again, that's why you're seeing it being removed from the field, and it looks like otherwise nothing's happening. So it's going to go back to Kenzie. She's going to move over here. So the reason behind this is that she's trying to line up this run to land on one of these squares, 1 or 2, right? Because that's what she can reach and also puts her in range of attacking. She's defending this right now. And while this looks really intimidating, having the Ryujin right next to 2 nests, you have to remember 2 things. One, it's an aerial unit. It can't make turns. It's only moving in straight lines, and that is very turn inefficient. The second thing is that the Ryujin is creating water wherever it goes. So this is all water. So it can't land here if it wanted to threaten this one. It is, it can threaten here though. So we're going to see what are the optimal plays. There is actually there's one thing that Maggie needs to do. She needs to defend these 2 squares, because if she doesn't, it's checkmate or monster mate, whatever you want to call it. Let's see what she does. Okay, that's a good move. She's just out of range of this, and this piece can no longer land on these 2 squares because it could take it either. Yeah, it can just move over here. Oh, you know what? I wonder if we go back, if we look at all the ranged attacks. So there's criteria in which qualify units from being able to use their range attacks. And for the Cyclops, it needs to have not moved the turn before. You need to have moved a different unit. It kind of, quote unquote, gives time for the Cyclops to pick up a rock in order to throw. I wasn't keeping track of that, but I don't know how much of it would have made a difference. But so this one technically wouldn't do a ranged attack if this one moved here, but it can capture normally. It's land. So let's see what Kenzie, she has to change something up. All right, she goes back, still protecting this piece. Interesting move here. The question is, like, you know, should you have just taken it and then traded and then gone 1 for 1 and then try and race? And there is what do you call it? There is a tie clause. Now the problem is, like, once you get off that, once you're no longer threatening this, she can bring a piece back. This is actually a really well-timed hatch. Because if she, you know, hypothetically, if she had taken this back while this was threatened, she just attacks here and wins. And if you had hatched here, you'll lose a turn to bring a monster back, but then they attack it, taking it, and then you attack, and then you're going 1 for 1. So the question of what's the better move is unsure. You are kind of forcing their hand, though. It's not the worst. I'm not saying it's never good. She does have to move. She's not threatening anything here, but she also can't be captured here. So let's see what Kenzie does. All right, Kenzie moving here is going to be threatening this, capturing this unit next turn. Let's see what Maggie does.
Hey, how's it going? This is Editor Das. Just to clarify, actually, that the Yeti wouldn't be able to actually capture the Ryujin going from the mountain left 1 land and then down 1 land because the Ryujin has turned this entire tile into water. So if it went 1 square above it or 1 square below it, it would be able to be captured by the Ryujin. And so it's almost unapproachable from this angle. Again, one of the reasons why the Ryujin is so strong, but the Ryujin could land on those squares without capturing. So that double-edged sword. Just clearing that up, the Ryujin is actually not in threat currently from where the Yeti stands. All right.
Okay. That's a pretty good move. So if this captures, if it goes 1, 2, the Cyclops can go 1, 2, 3, 4, capture back, and puts it right next to the nest. I think developing the Cyclops was the way to go. An argument could have been made before everything happened. Doing so would have been better, but it's not unsure necessarily. So Maggie needs to make a decision here. She can freeze this, actually. She doesn't have to jump on it. She could use her ranged ability because she started her turn on a mountain. She's using it from a mountain, and it is a diagonal attack. She would be freezing it. But she decides to go backwards. I'm a little curious about this. I think maybe her plan is to start to make progress towards here, hoping that the aerial unit can fend off. Usually aerial units are really bad at defending because you can just kind of juke them and they can't make those turns in time in 1 turn. So maybe make some forward progress while also threatening. Again, she entered her turn. She started her turn on mountain, ended her turn on mountain. She could freeze this. It's not the end of the world because it's in range to be unfrozen, but that's still a loss of tempo when you're so close to the end. So a missed opportunity there. Maggie deciding to go back. Ironically, she goes from being able, like, almost could have gotten frozen this turn to also can be frozen this turn because it's, again, too diagonal. And again, Kenzie's starting on a mountain. So out of the fire, or out of the frying pan into the fire sort of thing. And that's what she does. She decides to use her ranged attack. Again, this is not how it would transpire. This would become frozen, and I think it gets corrected in a sec. So pretend like there's a unit here. Okay, so Maggie's moving over this way. I think that's a good move. She can't be taken back. This also in its text, and I'll put it up on the board, is that it needs, if it throws an attack, it needs to do it from a different mountain. It threw a snowball from this mountain. It needs to go to a different mountain to throw a snowball if it wants to throw a snowball 2 turns in a row. Here we go. We're correcting. This is still on the board. and we're going to flip it to make sure that you understand that it's frozen rather than active. It is still Kenzie's turn. She could freeze. I will say this, though. If she freezes this, it is a draw because Maggie will have no pieces that she's able to use, able to make any legal moves. Both her pieces will be frozen. They can't act. She can't hatch anything because she would lose the game. So it is a draw. Similar to chess, if you have no legal moves, even if you're winning, if you're losing, same kind of similar draw mechanics. So unfortunately, she needed to protect this square. And the reason she needed to protect this square was because if this moves here, this will not be able to stop it, can only go straight. And then the next turn, it'll be able to go because it needs one extra turn, 1, 2, 3. And then next turn, 1, 2, 3. If she moved here, she could have protected it, forcing Maggie to have to move to a different place. And you can never move back to the same square you were the previous turn. So it can't move back and forth. Which is really relevant in situations like this where it's really tense. The pieces are really on top of each other and any move can spell the loss or draw immediately. I think what she's thinking is maybe she can try and get in range, again, thinking that you can't freeze nest though. So she also may think that she needs to capture this, but really the key space is here is if Maggie gets onto this square, it is checkmate. It is monster mate. And yeah, I think that's game. Nice victory to Maggie. Definitely need some clarification on some of the monsters and how they move. But again, exciting to see some people use some different monsters, different strategies. And if you like this, check out the Monstermachy Discord or Monstermachy on screentop.gg. We play and learn every second Monday of the month, 7 to 9 Eastern Standard Time, called Monster Mondays. And yeah, check back here for replays with and without commentary. This has been Das signing off, and thanks again. Take care.